Hey, what's going on, champs? I'm Aaron Deliosa. Welcome to an Immigrant's Life podcast, my podcast about immigrants and immigration and everything in between. Thank you for listening and downloading the show, and thank you for supporting my dad.
Welcome back, Immigrant Nation. Another week, another new episode. As always, I love starting every episode by thanking you for being here with me, listening, and always supporting, and always stoking the fire in me to keep this podcast going. For the ones that are new here and for the ones who haven't done it, please follow me on all the social media at An Immigrant's Life. If you want to interact with me, maybe have a conversation, that's the best way to get in touch with me. I've been getting a lot of sweet messages from y'all, and most of it are encouraging, and I really appreciate it. Speaking of encouraging, if you want to take your support for the podcast on the next level, I'd appreciate it if you could give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcast, and maybe even leave a short, sweet review. It's the best way to support me for free. Doesn't cost you a thing, but I'd appreciate it eternally. That's the business side of things. Now, let's talk about the fun side of it. This week, I spoke to a second-generation immigrant that grew up in a conservative small town while being a closeted queer person. If you don't know anything about that, this episode is perfect for you. So you know how we do it here. Without further ado, let's get into the show. Isa, dalawa, tatlo. Today's guest is an actress, a model, and a philanthropist. She's as beautiful as the cyclamen flower, and like the cedar tree, her beauty is evergreen. Everyone, please welcome Attieh Helena.
Hey, thank you everyone for tuning in. As you know, it's Attieh Helena, and that's pretty much it that you need to know right now before we dive in.
How about if someone wants to reach out and talk to you or ask you something, where can they reach you?
Yeah, totally. I'm best way to reach me most likely is through my Instagram. It's just at Attieh Helena. I just shoot me a DM if you have any questions. Otherwise, if it goes further than that, I'm sure we'll figure out some communication through. Yeah, that's just the best way right at the moment.
Awesome. First of all, I want to say thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm very excited and I've been looking forward to it. It's very cool.
That's awesome. All right. I mentioned earlier that you are a model. Did you
Yes.
continue modeling during the pandemic?
Yeah, through the pandemic, it definitely did slow down, especially because in the area where we are, there's only very minimal amounts of work that's available. So more so the work that I did through the pandemic was a little bit more creative based, just to make sure that craft was staying in tip-top shape, and just staying creative and keeping those connections going and everything is just the best thing that I could do in the moment while there was not a lot of work happening. As soon as work started opening up though, I've been working a little bit more now. But yeah, it was a little more difficult through the pandemic to work. It was a little more creative based or time for print rather than actual contract work.
Okay. How did the pandemic affect you mentally?
How did the pandemic affect me mentally? I would say it's still affecting me a little bit. There was a lot of relationships, I would say, that were exposed in a negative way through many things that had happened through the pandemic. And that growth in general and change in general can be difficult on the mental health. But I think at the point that I've been at in life, I was luckily prepared for such a thing and embraced it. But I think mentally not being able to do all the things that I really wanted to do at that point, it just made me feel really set back. It made me feel kind of inferior, kind of like behind when it was totally out of my control, which is kind of also daunting. But I would say like through really solid like friendships and being able to still create throughout some things, whether it have been small or big, was really was just the saving grace.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean you felt inferior? Inferior to what?
I feel like a lot of people were able to like be successful through the pandemic. Maybe they like utilized that time that they were home more for like different things. And I thought, why didn't I do that? Or something like, I don't know. I just thought maybe I could have given myself a little bit more push to do things that I've been saying, I needed time to do this, because everybody was like baking banana bread, or I don't know, that was
planting plants.
Yeah, like everyone was like, look at all these new things that I really wanted to try and do. And I was just like, I'm just going to keep doing the things that I still am doing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like I look at it now and I'm just like, I gave myself such a hard time and everything. But in general, like I just had graduated school right at the pandemic as well. So, well, thank you. But everything was just shut down. So my degree was pretty much just like handed to me, and they were like, all right, hang out at home. And I was just like,
great job, buddy.
Pat on the back. So yeah, it just kind of felt like you're like running at full speed, and then all of a sudden there's just like this like hurdle, but you don't do hurdles. So you're just like, shit, how do I jump
just
over
tripping all over the place.
Some people like go under, some people just full blown tripped over it. I like tried to jump over it and like tripped over myself a couple times and crawled. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, what matters is you survived.
Yes, thank goodness.
Right.
Very lucky.
That's a very important thing. Like, flowers doesn't bloom overnight. Sometimes they take time.
They do. I'm one of those ones that will like bloom in like 10 years and then like disappear for another 10.
That's funny.
I'm just kidding. But
so, being a model, you have to keep your shape like 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they do like that. A lot of the industry does, prefer everybody to be like. It's changing. There is change. There's a lot of room for growth. Absolutely, but not even. But it's just there is a lot of room for growth. As somebody who has been in the industry, I don't know, like I've been doing it for quite some time now. Modeling maybe since I probably started when I was like 17, acting when I was like 8, especially predominantly theater. But a lot of the prerequisites for certain like travel requirements or certain go-sees, or even just like what they're looking for exactly in that like casting, you have to fit the measurements. And sometimes the measurements aren't even what my measurements are, but I'm just like, I'm here anyway if you need me. But generally, like, I would say I eat like crap. I could do better. I like vegetables and I like carbs. And I think that the best thing to do is just do what's best for your body. If you're tired, relax. If you want to walk, go for a walk. If you want to run, go for a run. I am not a runner. I definitely respect runners. I wish I could. I'd rather like chase a ball if I was running, like a dog.
So what do you do for exercise?
For exercise, yeah, like I go for walks. I stand a lot at work. I'll occasionally, just play like random sports. I'm going to play baseball tomorrow. That's going to be the fourth time in my life I've played baseball. That's generally it. Like I like to dance. I like to do those kinds of things. And I don't find that's really like exercise. It definitely is. Like you get your heart rate up, you're sweating, you feel good. But to me,
But there's no routine.
If anyone has advice, please give it to me. I would love to exercise more.
So you're one of those annoying girls that just beautiful all the time. Like they don't have to accept effort.
Yes, it's severely annoying for me too, because like I don't get it either. I have no, like, someone's like, so what do you do about that? And I'm like, I have no response. I'm just gonna stand here and smile and know that you hate me behind that glare.
Son of a gun. So I'm sure you got a lot of hate because you're like, well, this is me. I wake up like this. I eat pizza and I still like this.
Yeah, well, it happens. It definitely does. And I don't necessarily take it personally. Maybe in the past I did. I think a lot of times women, people who identify as women and femme-presenting people are pinned against each other a lot, like especially in this society that we're in, and beauty standards and everything like that. I'm just genetically built this way. I have no say or desires or anything like that of it. And I don't like that other people might feel bad or like, like what I mean? Like it to me, it's not an attack on me. So I don't feel it as hate per se. I would say it's more like, wow, the world really screwed us up. like I love you. I know we're beautiful. Like everybody, like, but in the same breath, like if somebody's going to be rude about it, I will put them in place. Like but never, I don't hold it too deep anymore. I think that comes with a lot of experience, not even really age. That's experience.
I know your dad is Lebanese and your mom is Ukrainian.
Yes.
Were you born in Canada?
I was born in Canada. I'm the first one born in Canada. My older brother, he was born in Ukraine. He actually has a different father than I. He's half Filipino. And
my
then
people.
My little brother, very blended family. But born in Ukraine. And then my parents both immigrated here and they met here. Then I came along. And then my little brother did. He's great too. He's awesome.
Which part of Canada were you born?
I was born in Manitoba.
Manitoba. Beautiful Manitoba.
Oh, flatland, prairies. I grew up in a small town. They call it, well, my dad calls it, they probably there don't call it this. It's just me, my dad. But it's part of the Bible Belt. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
So it was a small Mennonite town, or predominantly Mennonite, I should say. There was a lot of like Christians there too, and then there was us. But that was very interesting growing up there. Like, it was good in like some place, like a lot of aspects of my life growing up in that small town. And then there was a lot of like, whoa.
What is this whoa? Let's talk about the whoa.
Like school. School is hard. School was hard. School was a little easier, I would say, for like my brothers. But I don't know. I guess I grew up in the wrong time. People were harsh. Like that movie Mean Girls was pretty real. And like, I would say like when I was younger, it was more difficult. I had to like mold myself into some sort of like person in high school. Like I started playing all the sports. I started doing like all the extracurriculars and everything like that, so that I had like my hands in all the places so that everybody knew who I was instead of everybody knowing me as somebody else that they would make me up to be like, I don't know, they called me a towel head and I was like, I never wear my hijab. I never did wear my hijab.
Why? Why would they call you that?
Right? Like, I was just like, I don't know. I didn't get it. I was like, I don't get it.
Because of your dad?
Yeah. Yeah.
But are you that?
Yeah.
Like wearing
we were raised Muslim. Like, my mom isn't, but we were raised Muslim, but it's not like we walked, like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It was just so abnormal for them, I guess, at that time. Like, there was most of the immigrants there at the time, like my mom, were Ukrainian or Russian or Polish. And then there was my dad and us.
How did they end up in this town? Why this town?
In this town,
Yeah.
I ask that question all the time. Why? Why did you, like, there's like Vancouver, there's Montreal, there's some really nice places out there, and you chose Morning. Why? Tell me why. It just happened. It just happens to be where, like, so my mom was like fleeing with my older brother, and she had like this great aunt that happened to live in Morden, or like a area around there.
Blame the aunt.
Yeah,
it's the aunt.
Yes, Bradshaw. That was her name, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure we were supposed to call her Mrs. Bradshaw. But yeah, and my dad, he had many siblings that had multiple places in the world. Like, there's some in Australia, Egypt, America. They're just everywhere. And one of his older sisters happened to have married a man here too. So lo and behold, they come here and they meet in an English speaking class.
Mm-hmm.
So cute.
So for the listeners that doesn't know,
Yes.
Can you describe what Mennonite is?
Mennonite. So Mennonite is like a type of religion, religious practice. I wouldn't say that I'm very well versed in it. What I really predominantly saw is that it was a like Christianity based type religion. So they followed like the Bible and a lot of the teachings that come from that. They wouldn't, like, a lot of the times the like women and they were in like colonies a lot too. They would wear skirts, like they weren't allowed to wear pants, and they would wear like stuff like these bonnets on their heads sometimes. And usually they would be taken out of school by like grade 8 or age 8. I don't remember because they weren't there. But then they would like work on their farms and get married young, and they just like, yeah, like very to themselves. And so outsiders to them were very strange. They're very nice people. One time my dad lived at this house that had this big apple tree, and they would ask to pick the apples. Because my dad was like, yeah, I don't want them. It's too many for me. They would take the apples, and the Hutterite colonies would take the apples too, which is not the same, but I would say somewhat similar. I don't know. I would say when I explain it, it would sound practically similar. They would take the apples and then they would bring them back and like, but as like apple pie.
No way.
Yeah. So that was really nice. I was just like.
So you said school, you're busy with sports and all that stuff, but inside there was something brewing.
Yeah. Oh, yes. School was interesting. I was not out in school at all in high school. I had boyfriends. I had boyfriends out of high school. Shout out to them. What's up? And everything like that. It was more of like something that you kind of like knew about in like the back of your mind. And I'll snap back to this because it is pretty interesting. But I chose to bury it and say, like, no, that's not real. That's not true. And I will explain why and what kind of triggered me to do that to myself until I was probably more of a young adult, more so into my 20s, when I started being a little truer to myself, which it takes time, and there's no time frame on it. Like, everybody takes their own time frame on it.
Mm-hmm.
Should, like, do not allow anybody to pressure you to do anything. It sucks. And then they suck if they do that. Just FYI. But yeah, in my later 20s is probably when I realized that I was queer. It kind of like I started as like no, I'm lesbian, like I just like girls. But I would say I was kind of like in this crappy relationship with a woman when I came out, and we were together for like almost 4 years, but not good. But anyway, I felt like she wouldn't have been with me if I identified as queer or anything like that. And people still, like, you're just like, I don't know, like, say these things. People might say they're like gay or bisexual. It's like labels mean a whole lot to some people and a whole lot of nothing to other people. To her, labels meant a lot, so I felt like there had to be that. So yeah, I was like, and still, if people call me a lesbian, I'm not offended. It's great. Yeah.
So wait, so I'm sorry, but I'm not really educated about this. Like,
That's fair.
so what's a queer?
Queer, like, I don't know. For me, it personally just means that, like, yes, I identify as part of the LGBTQ plus community. I date women. I have dated women. I do date women. I identify as a non-binary femme person, so she, they. And then also I would, let's say, since I say that I'm queer, for me, what that means is then, like, I date women, and I would probably date somebody who says that they identify as they, you know what I mean, as well, like how I do, or she, they, or something, or like a trans woman, you know what I mean? So like, that's what it means personally for me. It could mean a lot of things to other people. I know that when I was going to college, and I started saying that, like, I'm queer, instead of like your typical labels or what have you. People were, one of my friends that I was sitting with at the time, he's like, isn't that like a derogatory term? And I was like, what? Wait, what? Yeah, isn't that like rude? And I was like, I don't know. That's a great, like, so I looked it up, and in the past it was, I guess, like, it was used like how bag and, like, you know, all that kind of stuff, dyke, like all that kind of stuff can be used as dirt or swords thrown at you. So it's like, yeah, that's I understand that, but I had heard it in such like positive context. So I guess, like, for me, it's like reclaiming that word and what I believe it to mean.
Yes. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, the word queer is originally what it means, like a weird thing. So back in the days, people doesn't understand what, you know, queer people are. They're like, yeah, this queer. And then it evolved into like a very hateful or derogatory word. And then I love that you said, like, we're reclaiming it. We're reclaiming the word.
Yeah. Because, like, you know, like, I had no idea. And it was interesting to learn that, especially as somebody who's like in the like LGBTQ plus community. I was like, oh, I didn't know. But, you know, like, I don't know everything. Like, I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And the thing is like, you have to constantly be learning. You're dead otherwise. But like, like the word gay, let's say, it originally, if you look at the origin context of the word, it means happy and like go lucky. And now people are like, it means men who like men, shame. And it's just like, who decided this? Tell me. But
I don't
right.
read.
So it's interesting how it could go one or the other way. But I guess that's how I would say it means to me. Yeah.
Oh, what age did you kind of know, like, yo, I think I like girls or whatever you want to say?
That's, like I really can't pinpoint like an exact age. I know I was like younger. I was probably like in middle school, like just before junior high, like, like grade 5, 6 or something like that.
That makes sense.
I went to I grew up in a small town, right? So the building that I went to school in was the same from K to 12. I literally went to the same school with the same people for so long. Crazy. Some people don't experience that. When I come to Winnipeg, like when I started living in Winnipeg, people are like, I went to high school here. I'm like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. I went to the same building.
Same people.
Yeah.
I saw them with no boobs and now they have boobs.
Yeah. Yeah, literally. But yeah, so I would say around that time, because I know that we were like in the basement a lot. And like, I grew up in Immigrant, which is like the French immersion part of school. So we had like a weird hallway. We were like, I don't know, segregated from the rest of school. But then occasionally in grade like 6 and like 5, 6, 7, and before 8, you started going into other classes to get yourself prepared for high school because you're not going to be in the same homeroom or I don't know, whatever that meant. So I remember going into the basement where like the English students were. And there I made like new friends and everything like that. And that's when I started noticing that like, because there was these students from Mexico, because like foreign exchange students, I guess, came in, but they were in the English classes. And so I hung out with them a lot. And I think that's probably where it started. Like I started noticing and I was just like, no, repress, hate some dudes. But either way, like it was, I would say like, that's like the earliest memory that I can like really like pinpoint is around that time. I can't like exactly, we were probably all just like sitting there asking for gum or something stupid, like something middle schoolers do. Yeah, someone was just like, smelled really good. And I was like, that's not a dude.
Those Latinas got you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, and like, I was growing up with my parents and they weren't and this will tie into kind of why I didn't like come out as early as some people did and not as late as some other people. I don't know. I came out when I came out. My parents, they're no longer together. They actually started separating and everything when I was pretty young. And around, I don't quite remember how old I was, 7, 8, something like that. My dad had like told us that my little brother was a little too young, but I think my older brother, well, he knew he was older than I, so he got it. My dad actually told us that he was gay. And so like he and my mom were separating and divorcing because he couldn't be with her because he liked men. So that was a pretty tumultuous, very like hard time on the family. And like, love my mom, bless my mom. I understand she was hurt, but she said and did some things. And my dad said and did some things. And it really put this like sour taste in my mouth on like how my family would react or treat me. If, if I'm gay, if I'm a lesbian, if I'm queer. So I was just like, no. You're not going to do this. You're not going to hurt your mom again. You don't want to see that. First of all, that lady like never cries. She was raised in the former Soviet Union.
She's Ukrainian. Push those feelings down.
She's like...
So, but did it not make you like, okay, if dad is gay and I'm a queer person, maybe I can come out to him and he'll be more understanding?
You know, that would have been like a really awesome thought. That wasn't what happened though. Like, I thought like it can't, like he's gonna just like think it can't be true. Or another thought that I had as a kid, because like I am still to this day, I am a daddy's girl. I was like, my dad's gonna think that he did something wrong. He's gonna think that it's his fault. Because predominantly in our Arab culture too, it's not even frowned upon. It's like stoned upon.
That's horrible. I love it.
I'm sorry. Not everywhere, but some places. And my family, like a lot of them now are okay, but there are some, especially some of the older ones, the conservative ones, you know, like it was the way that they spoke to their children and their loved ones and stuff. Like, you did this to your child or something. And I didn't want any more drama, for lack of a better term, for him. I thought he was going through enough. So to me, I felt like there was just so many things that like probably had nothing to do with me. Not even probably, had nothing to do with me. But like I just couldn't see past it at the time until I was older. Until I couldn't care anymore because I wanted to live my life. And not everybody gets that opportunity, I guess. And I don't want to be one of those people who don't take over or take advantage of their opportunities.
Definitely. So growing up is tough already.
Mm-hmm.
You hiding your sexuality, I'm sure it created some anger or rage inside you.
Yeah. In general, as a young child, I was pretty angry. You can ask my parents, you can ask my siblings. I was a pretty angry child, and maybe like in the last 4 years I've calmed down. But yeah, I had a lot of rage in me. I would pop off. I am an Aries, terrible fire sign. So there are times that I would say that, yeah, I fought or got angry.
Did you get in fights?
Yeah, I got in fights. I would say I got in fights.
A lot?
A moderate amount.
A moderate amount. Like, can I count it with my fingers or?
I can't count it on my fingers. I don't know how many fingers you have.
That's funny. So, who was the first person that you came out? You're like, yo, I like girls.
Who was the first person I came out to? This can I call for a question? I don't really think that I just I know for a fact that like when I sat down with like my mother and like my babushka, like her mom, that was like a whole endeavor, and that was like a coming out thing that people like see on TV or hear about and tell alls. I don't know, whatever. I pretty much just was like, this is my girlfriend when I started having a girlfriend to people, and they were like, oh, okay. What?
Was it the first time you brought the girlfriend home, or?
No, my girlfriend at the time, like my ex, did not really, never met my mother.
Okay. So that was the first time.
Yeah, like to my brothers or like friends and stuff, it was pretty like nonchalant, I would say. Like I didn't really like go, hey, by the way, I'm gay, or just FYI, I have a girlfriend now. It just kind of like, here it is, deal with it or not.
Mm-hmm.
My dad, too, it was more just kind of like, hey, I have a girlfriend now. And he was just, oh, okay. Like it was a text, I'm pretty sure. So, nothing really like exciting. But for my mom, I know that like I had anxiety. I was nervous. I was like, this isn't going to go well. Like my brothers and my mom all came up into the city for, I don't know, what is it called? Thanksgiving? Is that something? Yeah. Thanksgiving. Just because everybody had that day off. So they were like, food and eat. And I was like, I guess this is the time to do it. And probably like the whole time, I'm a very loud and like rambunctious person, like everywhere I go, also at home. So like I was very silent and stuff so that everyone just thought it was weird. But by the time like dessert came around or something like that, or we were cleaning up dinner, getting ready for dessert, something along those lines, I was just like, hey, Mom, I'm gonna go to Texas with my girlfriend. My ex was from Texas. And yeah, and then I think I blacked out.
Did you black out mentally, or your mom punched you and blocked you?
Yeah, she just picked up a chair and no. No, I mentally blacked out because I think the look on her face was like enough. And the thing with my mom is that she like goes quiet and won't speak to you when something is wrong or she disapproves or something. So like that entire time she just was silent pretty much and didn't look at me. It wasn't probably until like 2 weeks. From my memory, it was maybe like 10 days, 2 weeks, that she finally like called me and told me that she's like, you know how I feel about this, in her thick Ukrainian accent. You know, I disagree, so we won't talk about it ever. It's not anything that we talk about. And I was like, what? So what do we talk about then? We don't talk about much anyway. But she was just like, well, we'll talk about school and health. And I was like, oh, okay. That's cool. And you know, she still stands by that. She still stands by her stubborn.
To blue Ukrainian. But
literally.
Have you ever visited her home and bring your girlfriend?
No.
After that? Never.
I have brought like my partner by the house to grab my dog from my mom, but that has been like the closest proximity at all. But like, you know, it could change. I am cautiously optimistic. That's cautiously optimistic. But otherwise, my dad's great. Yeah, he's wonderful. He's fully accepting. He's smart and hilarious and teaches me so much about life and people and the world. So
that's beautiful.
It's a very interesting dynamic, quite opposite.
Yeah, like the Iron Lady and then the soft marshmallow on the other side.
Yeah, it's amazing. Because you wouldn't ever be a marshmallow because we don't eat pork.
Are you still Muslim, by the way?
Yes, I'm still practicing. Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't like wear money. But you can do whatever you want. Like it's like a folk's tale to always wear.
Yeah, it's a decision. Yeah, I just had a guess, and yeah, she's like, growing up, she wasn't wearing at all, and then she turned, I think, 19, and she's like, you know what? I'm gonna wear hijab.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
that's amazing. You know.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Like, there's many reasons why people do it, and there's many reasons why people don't, or whatever, and it's always just their own.
Yeah, for sure. What made you come out? Really like what was the breaking point?
Like when I like officially told my mother.
Yeah.
I think that's what we'll coin as like my coming out is when like I told my mother. That's what it was to me. Everybody else, like,
They kind of knew.
you're fine. I think because I was like, there's two reasons, and one reason isn't the nicest. Like, one reason is because, like my life was moving on. My relationship at the time was moving forward. And like, I don't like to leave the country and not tell my parents where I go. I mean, and my plan was to be going soon. So I thought like that might be a nice little segue. I don't know.
It seems like you didn't even plan this thing.
I knew that I was going to say something and I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to say. But it was a mixture of that, like knowing that it had to be done at some point. I don't know if that necessarily was the point that I wanted it to do, but my partner at the time was very aggressive about it happening right away because unfortunately there are some people in this world who think that like if you like come out late in life, you're not as relevant for
That's
lack
dumb.
of a better right. It's dumb. It's stupid. It's gross. That's gross behavior.
Just be happy, man.
Yeah. So I was just like, just because you came out in like high school doesn't mean that. So anyway, it was a little bit of like, so it was like, yeah, I know it's something that I have to do. But then, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to jump into the pool. Just give me a second. I'm taking my shoes off, but you got pushed in anyway.
She pressured you.
A little bit. A lot of it.
A lot of it. A lot of it.
A lot of it. Good riddance.
That's why you broke up.
That's not why, but it's definitely a contributing factor.
Yeah, it's just like it's part of, it's like a snowball, right?
Building block to many,
Exactly.
many red flags. If someone could be made out of red flags,
this is for the person.
That's someone.
Are you with someone now?
Yeah, I have a great partner. He's really great.
Do you feel being with, I don't know what she identifies, queer or lesbian or whatever, right? But like physically, she's a woman, right?
Physically, she is a woman, yes.
Yeah. So do you feel there's a gender, not what I'm looking for? There's work. Work is like, okay, this is what you do because you're the woman of the couple, you know what I mean?
The age-old question: are you the man or the woman in the relationship?
No, not necessarily like that. No, not. I'm not. It's more of like, because I'm more feminine. I'm gonna do like more feminine work. You're masculine. You're gonna do more masculine work.
I mean, maybe it's true for some people. Like. That's an interesting question because I don't even know how she would answer it. There are certain things that I can't do that she can, and there's certain things that she can't do that I can. I wouldn't say that it's based on like my femininity or her femininity or my masculinity or her masculinity or androgynousness or anything like that. I think it's really based on genuine, like, and this could be different for other people. Like I'm lucky. I have a great partner. It's based in like equity, like what is fair. Like I am, yes, this tall, skinny, lanky individual. And I can reach really high up tall and get, everybody asks, do you know what the cupboard above your fridge has in it? Because I can never reach that. And I was like, I know exactly what's in there all the time. I reach it, I can see it. It's great. It's in my eyeline. I can, this is just an example, a very basic example, but I can reach that. And then in the meantime, if like a beer can needs to be crushed or something so the garbage can close, then she can do that quicker than I can. So it's like whose strengths and whose weaknesses, and then we just like correlate and work around that. Like I know that what she does for work has nothing to do on gender. It has everything to do with like your degree. Like if you studied it, like
your ability.
Meanwhile, anybody could really be a model if you're feminine or masculine.
Not everyone should be a model. No. You definitely should be a model. There's some I'm like, yo, you don't belong anywhere in front of a camera or whatever else.
Or like, but like it's not like, it's maybe like, I know I personally, like I would never go outside and put like a hard hat on and start smashing rocks. Like that is not something I want to do. Maybe she would though, like, I don't know. But again, it would be based on just like what you want to do or what you feel comfortable doing or what your strengths and weaknesses are. Like,
yeah. There's no gender roles.
No, like it's more like, I would say like, especially in this day and age, especially with like a lot of the younger people in the queer community, a lot of them like kind of spit at that or use it as like a joke. You'll hear a lot of it as like used as a joke, like, oh, it's like the top, the bottom. It's just like, it's a joke. But again, there's also some people who really latch onto that kind of thing. They want that weird heteronormative I'm sorry, but that's how I think of it. Heteronormative thinking or lifestyle, where someone has to be like masculine and someone has to be feminine. And, if that works for them, that works for them. Then they're happy. And hats off to you. Good. Not I.
Yeah. I like what,
so I can't speak for everyone, unfortunately.
Definitely. Like what Ellen DeGeneres says when somebody asks her, like, who's the man, who's the woman in the relationship? And she's like, who's the spoon or the fork? Like, no, it's like, we're like chopstick,
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. We're just hands. Like, I just eat food with my hands.
Exactly. So, having female relationship, do you think that gives you an advantage over like someone having like me, a hetero person that like have a woman with me?
An advantage?
Yeah,
do you think I
like,
have an advantage?
I don't know, like, I'm sure you have like, I don't know what I'm thinking.
Society and the world is set up for heteronormativity. I just said the word tits. Sorry.
Yeah, I love it. I love titties too.
But it is. So like, people, I don't know, like maybe like this doesn't pertain to me, but like a gay couple or a lesbian couple or a queer couple or something like that, they might have to jump through hoops to have children if that's something that they see fit. While you guys could just get drunk or something, and like that's fine, that's great, or whatever. Some people might be challenged by that or see that as an advantage or a disadvantage. I think society is built on like these building blocks that they made, like white supremacy and heteronormativity, blah, 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 all that boring crap. But like I don't think that I have any disadvantages, but that could also just be because I think that we're fucking great. Like, if somebody thinks that me and my partner, any other queer person and their partner, something is at a disadvantage, then I want to shake them and say, really? In what way? Like, I would love to know the disadvantages that people want to throw at us, because I think we will meet them with open arms and resilience and win.
Awesome. Have you ever experienced discrimination when you're doing modeling?
Yeah. I mean, definitely there's a lot of different factors that could play into why me personally is discriminated. It could be size. It could be I'm not light enough. I'm not dark enough. It could also be that I'm not androgynous enough, or I'm not queer looking enough, or I'm like overly passing. Or then sometimes I will book things just because like you are so passing. You could be whatever you want. You can fold into any mold. And it's just like, yes, definitely. I think every single model, actor, performer has to realize that sometimes, yes, there's full-blown discrimination happening, and it's horrible and it's not okay. And then sometimes genuinely, like, a role is being looked for by a certain person and you're just not that certain person, so you just can't book that role. So don't take that personally. It's going to somebody who deserves it or needs it or fits it. So it's one or the other, right? And sometimes, especially like earlier on in my career, it was so hard to like split the two. It was really hard. But now for me anyway, I would say it's an experience thing. And maybe and a sprinkle of age, just because I can weed out like the people who would probably be kind of like discriminatory or use, I don't know, like what's the proper way to say it? Like use you and not like lift you. So like at one point, I know when I started becoming more like out on my social medias too, because like I'm not the most active on my social medias. I could be better. Don't get me wrong. But there was a time where then like I wasn't getting like any like buzz. And then all of a sudden there was just this like influx of buzz that felt like super, super performative or sticky. I don't know. It just didn't feel good. Like I remember this one influencer reached out to me for this like queer campaign, and she had wanted to have like queer individuals and people of color and Black individuals and Indigenous
Very
individuals,
specific.
on this campaign that she was talking about. I was like, wow, great idea. What's in it for them? Like us, like what are you giving? What, like, oh, you'll get featured on my platform. I gotta take a picture with you. No, like, are you doing any work? Like, are you going to sit with these people and see what they want or something like that? Are you going to do anything? And it was very like, it was just like, wow, these are great ideas that you are bringing to me, but they are too great. So I'm going to like reject you from my initial offer kind of vibe thing. And I was just like, gladly, I feel really badly for whoever you somehow weasel into this. And it's those things that I find that's not even performative. That was like a usage, right? So there was that influx. And I think like that was even worse than the like discrimination. I don't know. Like for me personally, I was just like, ew.
Yeah, they use you, like, oh, because it's a cool thing suddenly, like, to be what's the word that they say, like an ally.
Yeah. Haha.
I
Dude.
hate that word. I'm like, yo, I just like people, man. I don't
Yeah.
care if they're gay, queer, whatever they are. As long as
Yeah.
they're cool to me, man. Don't call me
Yeah.
ally. I'm not nobody's ally. I'm not even an ally to myself.
No. I just hold up a white flag all the time. I had no fighting. I'm not. But I get that. It's like to talk on the word ally, for lack of a better term, that's the word that we use now. Like, there are people out there who are great, like, and whatever, but exactly, they don't say I'm an ally and I'm like, they don't do that. And it's just, I don't know how people haven't figured that out yet. Like, people who want to be performative or who really want to change or really do want to be an ally and all that stuff. Like, how have you not noticed the behavior difference? I don't know. Maybe one day. I'm
just
cautiously
like
optimistic.
Right? Like, it's just like candy. Like, oh, they like the candy.
Yeah.
It's bad, but since it's sweet and easy to eat, you're going to choose the candy over broccoli. Who wants broccoli? You know what I mean?
You know what? My bearded dragon loves broccoli. He would probably choose broccoli.
That's definitely. Has there ever a job that was offered to you and you're like, you know what, dude? No, I can't do that.
Yeah, there have been a couple things that I've said personally, like, I don't want to do it. Or there have been jobs maybe like I didn't want to do because I thought like I wasn't the right fit for it too. Maybe like that has happened before, yes. It mostly just comes from just like, the bad communication happening with like certain individuals. Might it be the photographer or anything along those lines? Oftentimes, everything that I've done in like my acting and theater background has been quite all right.
How many times how many DMs do you get and like, yo, I'm a photographer, let me shoot you and it'll be good for your portfolio, but
I
it's
get
free?
none. No, I'm just kidding. I get a lot. I get a lot. And like, I want to reiterate this to photographers if they are listening. I really, really do respect like you wanting to perfect your craft and everything like that. After a while though, I've become a working paid model. I can't do things for free. Don't come out and ask me to just do things for free, especially if your portfolio is as big as my screen and you haven't worked with like anybody in a professional capacity that can show me that I would, one, benefit from this too, or two, not feel creeped, like know that they're a reputable like person, like the background, like they're professional, There have been many cases in many, many cities, not even just this one, like all around the world, of photographers being very creepy and reaching out to individuals. And I'm by no means some big star. But I've been working for years, and my craft and what I do is my job. And so I wouldn't ask a photographer to work with me for free. So why are you asking me to work with you for free? So yes, there's been lots of that. And sometimes you have to ignore them, especially if they're not getting the initial memo. And then sometimes you just have to like, I'm often very honest. Like I'm like, well, these are my rates. what is your ideas, and so on. And often if you're a budding photographer, it's hard to pay a model. I get it. But there are other ways that you can practice. We can talk about it. Things can happen. You can also go and perfect your craft more, and then we can work together later on. There's like so many solutions.
That's beautiful. I think we're getting there, but I want to close out with one question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to people that is currently going through the things that you went through, being a closeted queer woman?
Yeah, you know, the only really advice that I can give is a couple things. There's a couple things that I found that really, when I look back at it, is something that I'm so glad I didn't actually take for granted. It's have the like right people around you. You need a select few individuals, friends or family, whatever it may be, that really are going to support you and just like give that sort of love, because it is possible that you might not receive it, or you might not even receive the reaction that you were really anticipating, and that can cause a rift in your senses as well. I would say, yes, a good close circle that you trust and admire and respect, and vice versa, is very important. I would say, don't worry about labels either. I think that's one of the most daunting things to say to an individual who, whether they're in the closet or figuring things out, just why don't you just look it all up? Just look it all up. Look it all up. We got internet. Look it all up. If you don't got internet, we'll find a way. We'll look it all up. But I would say, don't be so daunted by like the things that you do look up, or like the labels or the insistency of other things. Just don't take it with like a grain of salt. Water off a duck's back, as they say. And then probably the last thing is just also don't rush. No rushing. There's no such thing as rushing. Time is a social construct. When you rush, you drop things. When when you rush, you forget things. When you rush, you make mistakes. And all of that only just in turn kind of like hurts you. And you are your most precious thing. Like, you know, you gotta love it. You gotta just like give it a good cuddle here and there. So I think, yeah, just like that's the only things that like I look back at that, like, one, I'm glad I didn't take for granted, and two, I wish I would have maybe like done a little bit more, like listened to my own advice a little bit more, because I know that I rushed a little bit, just a little.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, it was wonderful. I look forward to more of what you do.
Thank you.
I'm very excited for you. This has been an absolute pleasure. Everybody is an absolute star and it's phenomenal. So, yeah, I'm super excited.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Again, Attieh, thank you for coming on the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, listeners, for listening. This is Aaron Deliosa for An Immigrant's Life. I'll see you guys later.